I want to talk to Anthony. He's calling in from North Carolina. Anthony, you are live on Truth Wanted. What's up?
Hey, how's it going, fellas? Yeah,
Good,
so my topic was just how to talk to friends when they bring up religion or aliens, and then if possible, I'd like to give some examples of conversations I've had.
Okay. Yeah, why don't you start with the examples first?
Okay, fantastic, yeah. I have one for aliens, one for religion. I'll go with the religion one first.
Okay.
So, hanging out with some friends. I was hanging out with some friends, and one of them says, yeah, I got into an argument with an atheist today because I told him he was agnostic. And now I'm usually pretty non-confrontational, but somebody says something and I think I'm going to say something. So I say, okay, well, what's the context? What happened? They said, well, he told me he wasn't sure if there's a God. So I told him he's agnostic. I'm like, well. So I explained, the difference between, Gnosticism, agnostic, knowledge versus belief. And then it kind of spiraled from there. And my other friend then said, yeah, well, if he believes in science, he's religious anyway. And then I'm like, okay. So we kind of went on a spiral from there. So after that, they were talking about this tribe that practiced religious medicine. It just kind of went a little crazy.
Yeah, sounds like it was unproductive. Sounds like you didn't get a lot done there. So, as always, I get these kinds of calls fairly frequently, and I usually cite the same thing every time, which is I'm a big fan of street epistemology. And I think if you incorporate more of those methods into your conversations, you're going to see so much mileage with that. The important thing with implementing techniques that are used in street epistemology is recognizing that you are not probably, like all things considered, going to change that person's mind by the end of the conversation, and you need to accept that because people are just not that easy. They just aren't that easy. They usually hold on to beliefs, especially deeply held ones, for as long as they can. Most people are like that, especially if their methodology by which they came to their beliefs is not going to be the same as yours. Okay. So that's my first thing of advice, is just like, you got to let it go. I personally hate conversations when it comes to gatekeeping labels and stuff. I'm like not a huge gatekeeper. I let people identify, even if I don't, use the labels the same way, because like they have a certain meaning to it. And as long as they're not using it in specific associations that don't make sense, i.e. like atheist Christian, then I'm generally okay with it. So that would frustrate me personally if I was in a conversation like that. But the kind of questions I would ask would just be, what their definitions of these words mean and why they come to those conclusions of those definitions. For example, I used to think that an atheist was someone who believed in science. That was like my belief from that. And like if somebody asked me why I thought that, I would say, well, because that's what it is. But like if somebody came to me with a different way in how that's used, which is the majority of the atheist community, then I might have to question my own beliefs. I mean, like you have to just start with the question asking first. The question asking first is going to be better than getting into these arguments. As soon as you make like a counter argument, then it goes back and forth, and people just don't respond to that too well. But Apostate Prophet, what do you think of that conversation?
Well, in all honesty, I largely agree with you. I don't see any problem in that. I find it very fun, very much fun and enjoyable to have, very deep, very heated conversations and discussions about religious beliefs and this and that. In the end, both sides, whether you believe or disbelieve, you think that you are upon something true, and you are very heavily convinced about that. And I just find it very much enjoyable to, have.
I never said it wasn't fun. Okay, never said it wasn't fun. Just that, is it the most productive thing we can do at the end of the day with the individuals in our lives? I don't think so.
Let me say this. I have made experiences because of my cultural and religious background that are not very pleasant, but if you are not in such an environment, if you are not going to end up beating each other up, getting lynched, or having some very bad stuff done which will put an end to your life, I think there's nothing wrong with it. I mean,
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I can see that for sure. I think in this context, we're talking about just a conversation between friends, right? How do we best handle that? And I still stick to street epistemology. I think that is obviously I have anecdotal evidence of that, but I do think it's taking methods of human psychology and thoughts from that research into conversations, and I wish people use those kind of things more. But people like to argue. I mean, that's just. I'm not saying it's not fun, but I don't know. Anthony, what do you think?
Yeah, well, for starters, I am grateful to have friends that I can have these conversations with. So, these don't end in, screaming matches, mind you. But
yeah,
I don't know. I mean, whenever I'm having these conversations, I try to, keep it, how do you say, civil. I try to ask the right questions. Like when they brought up the whole religious medicine thing, I would ask, well, does the medicine work regardless of whether or not they're praying over it? And then they would just respond by saying, look it up. And there we are from there.
Yeah. Well, at that point, I mean, I would ask about the methodologies, do you believe in things because studies demonstrate that, or why do you believe the things that they do? Where does that come from? I think that's important questions we need to ask all of ourselves. Why do I believe that the COVID vaccine works? Well, I believe, in the research that's gone into it, I do believe that those studies are accurate and legitimate and that belief affects my belief in the vaccine's efficacy. So you can always kind of go down these rabbit holes. Even then, if it feels like there's a brick wall there's still threads you can pull at, I think, through this, but you do have to think outside the box sometimes.
Yeah, I just made it a personal thing on my part to, in my private life, not to very much, engage in trying to convince somebody that I know that their own beliefs are, stupid or wrong or ridiculous or whatever it is, unless they really, approach me and want to talk about it, unless they really want to change my mind or they are aggressive about it. I don't really. I don't really care. But of course, if you certainly, if you do care, if you do want to change people's minds, then the best way would be to simply try to first find out why exactly they believe in the things they believe in, and why people believe in. Why do you have the need to believe in the existence of God? Why do you believe in a soul? What is that belief exactly based on? Have you ever fact-checked that? Have you ever thought about it more deeply and try to go through the layers of the epistemology of this entire thing called the soul that so many people, even outside of religion, still believe in nowadays, and all that? But it's very much something that I try to keep out of my personal life, if you ask me.
Yeah, and that's another question too, as far as like how far should we go in our personal lives with having these conversations. Personally, I'm fine with it when it comes up. If it comes up, I think that's free game organically. It does get kind of dicey in the workplace though. When you're on a professional level, especially if it's potential clients that you have to talk to or something. I wouldn't tell you. I don't know what's the best thing to do there, unless it's particularly harmful or extreme. Like I mean, you can come up with examples on your own time, but I personally enjoy these conversations. I find them to be quite fascinating. And obviously, I have this call-in show where I talk to people about it all the time too, but this is like not reality in some sense. YouTube's not real, right?
No,
Apostate Prophet. YouTube's not real.
It is absolutely not.
It's not real. This is everything you see on YouTube. I mean, I talk to real people on this show. Don't get me wrong. But when content creators are out there, they're targeting specific audiences. They're not trying to speak to everybody. So you always have to target your own specific audience when you're talking to people, and make sure that you're being consistent with that. Because if you're going to talk like Matt Dillahunty to somebody on the first time, they might not like that. Some people don't respond to that super well, right? So anyway, it's a whole thing. Not to rag on Matt, but it's just kind of funny. Anyway, Anthony, I think that's all the time I have for this particular call. Unless you had any final thoughts you want to throw out.
Well, I try not to be too aggressive with my approach. Most of the conversation I have are reactionary. I'm not seeking out like, hey, what do you believe? Tell me. I want to make fun of you. It's nothing like that.
Yeah.
But, thanks for the conversation. I'll definitely look up street epistemology, and good one, guys.
Definitely do. I definitely recommend it. Thank you so much, Anthony.